and then you put a spear in them, and one of two things happens. Either you stone them, so the second you hit them, they go, and then you just pick them up and go up, or they go, and they motor off somewhere.
As a 21-year-old dude, I mean, incredible stamina to play water polo, a great swimmer. Here's my question. What kind of Navy SEAL do you think you'd have made?
Dude, I think about that all the time.
Because that's the hardest part. That's usually what weeds people out.
I think about, because I grew up also, even though I didn't end up playing polo till later in high school, I grew up spearfishing. I grew up on a lake, and literally for fun, what I would do is I would tie a rope to a rock and I'd jump in and go to the bottom of the lake, and I'd see how long I could stay down. I mean, that was like fun to me, you know? I grew up wakeboarding and windsurfing and all that shit, man. So like, I always wonder about that. What kind of a Navy SEAL I would have made. I have a really good breast support still to this day. I mean, there was a point I could free dive with just a snorkel and fins. I could go down 80 feet and grab sand from the bottom and come up. I could shoot a group. I could shoot a grouper with a Hawaiian sling in like 40, 45 feet, you know?
Holy fuck.
So I could still do that today, but the difference is I better shoot it, stone it, and bring it up on one breath, because I ain't going to be able to go down and work it if it gets rocked up in a hole.
You're the goddamn barbecue Chuck Norris.
I am not familiar with this spearfishing at all, but those terms you were just throwing out sound awesome. So tell me the process of, from start to finish. You see a fish, what happens?
All right. So we go, I would go with my family. I was an only child, and me and my mom and dad would go every summer to the Bahamas. We'd spend weeks over there, right? So here's the process. My dad would take he'd go to an area where he knew, he had numbers in the GPS, or just spotting by eye, going out and seeing the topography of this might be a good, rock spot, reef, whatever. Throw the ski rope out the back of the boat. And then I'd have a Hawaiian sling, so a lot of guys shoot spear guns, which is like the big, thick bands, and you have a trigger. Uh-huh. So, and then you could shoot like big fish with that and like reel them in, basically, we do it. It's like the difference of shooting a rifle versus a bow and arrow.
Okay.
So a Hawaiian sling, it's just a metal stainless steel shaft with a wooden handle and one rubber band on it. So it's like a bow and arrow, kind of like this, you're shooting it. Oh. And then if that fish is too big and he takes off with your shaft, it's gone, man. You got to either track him like you would like shooting a deer with an arrow. Like you got to track him till you find what hole he hold up in, and then you got to try to work him out of the hole as he's wounded and dying,
Oh my God.
And you got to do it all before all the blood hits the water enough to where sharks start coming around. Right. So I'd hang on to the ski rope, right? And my dad would just idle through the area, and you'd be looking, and either you get lucky enough where you see a fish kind of cruising by, and if you see the fish cruising by, you let go of the rope. And my dad knows to kill the engine when that happens, so the engine doesn't spook the fish. And then I start doing my breast support as I keep my eye on the fish, because if they sense danger, a lot of them have the ability to disappear really fast, either motoring away, or they change colors, or they blend into the surroundings. Mm-hmm. So I'm watching. You make sure I got my thing ready. Now, back in the day, I didn't worry about this, but now I flap my GoPro on real fast.
An extra step.
And then I go. And if it's a hog snapper, you come straight down on top of him, right? If it's a grouper, you come 20 feet away from him, and you try to come up along the sea fans or the rock and surprise him and pop him in the face, right? Or the head. And then you put a spear in him, and one of two things happens. Either you stone them, so the second you hit them, they go, and then you just pick them up and go up. Or they go, and they motor off somewhere. and then that cloud of smoke, as they take off, you got to follow the smoke and figure out what hole they got holed up in. And there. Now, the other thing, too, is lobster. You do a lot of lobstering in the Bahamas. So same thing. You tow on the rope, and when you see a cave that looks like it might have enough relief that a lobster might go on in there, you go down. And my move is I always go upside down. So I go upside down. I would grab the rock and come up like this. And then you sit there for a second and let your eyes adjust. When your eyes adjust, you can look into the cave and you see if there's any lobsters up in there.
You just reach in and grab them?
Well, in the United States, you have to either net them or tickle them out or grab them. In the Bahamas, you're allowed to shoot them with a sling.
Really?
Yeah.
Are lobsters fast?
They're blind, so they can barely see. So they have the tentacles. That's what that is. That's their feelers. So if they see you, it's just a big blob to them. So they think you might be a threat. So they actually come towards you. And then if you touch their antler, their tail shoots them backwards. So they go backwards up into the cave really far, and you ain't gonna get them, right? So, but if you can kind of like tickle them out, like reach in and tickle them, then they'll just slowly come out, and you could shoot them in the open. So they're not fast unless you give them a reason to be fast. Then they're gone.
Jeez, I hope you feel good about yourself, Dave, hunting the blind, slow crustacean of the sea.
They're delicious, Todd.
They are delicious. I love them. Dude, that's fucking crazy. So you just grew up. This is what you guys did.
That's what I did, man. It was really, for me, it was one of the main ways I connected with my dad, because my dad wasn't like a big, like he's not the kind of guy you throw the football. He wasn't a big like sports guy, but he was an outdoorsman. Yeah. So, and for me, my dad was he's a very smart guy. He's very high, intelligence with a lot of different things. So for me, like spearfishing from an early age and being very good at it, it was one of the few things where I really felt like my dad cherished my opinion, Uh-huh. So we were a real team in that sense. He knew the numbers, and he knew the how to drive the boat expertly. And I'd be in the water giving him my input of what I see there. He'd tell me what he sees up there. Sometimes we'd be in the water together, and it's like we had a grouper like holed up in a rock, and we're using teamwork to kind of how are we going to attack this grouper or this situation. So for me, it was a real connection point with my father.
He had the perfect kid. Your mom gave birth to Aquaman. You can hold your breath for like 2 days. Amazing swimmer. He's like, I just had the perfect kid because I love to go spearfishing, but I like to drive the boat. It's fucking great. I
think it was a very positive shift in my father's quality of life when he realized, because my mom's a great diver too. So it got to the point where my dad could just drink Budweisers in the boat, and me and my mom are towing on the ski ropes getting dinner back there. And he's like, "Oh, I got to drive the boat,"